I just watched Alien Romulus, so here's my spoiler-free thoughts on the best and worst parts of the movie. Let's start with some positives because I don't have that many, but I do think this film looks absolutely incredible. The cinematography and just the atmosphere that is created with the sets they were using look incredible. This movie also smartly uses a ton of practical effects for the xenomorphs and different alien creatures in this movie, and it really pays off. It makes it feel more like a classic 70s, 80s horror movie, and it just captures a feeling that CGI creatures honestly just can't do. So shout out to everybody on the team that were making these things. They look absolutely incredible in the entire movie. There are some very solid acting performances in this movie too. I think Kaylee Spaney did a very good job in this kind of lead role for her. I can't lie, David Johnson was easily my favorite performance in the entire movie. It was honestly so immersive and just engrossing every time he was on screen. It almost took me out of the film because of how good he was. I had to just acknowledge in real time, wow, this guy's giving an amazing performance. Really elevated every scene he was in. The entire ending of this movie does get absolutely insane. It was being hyped up before I watched it, people saying it's one of the best third acts in a horror movie in the last couple years, and honestly it kind of did live up to that. Some of the best scares of the movie are in this third act. An amazing ending. Although outside of the ending, I do have to say I feel like a lot of the thrills and scares in this movie kind of fell really flat for me, which is just kind of disappointing. I think a big issue is that this movie does a lot of things very similar to things that we see in Alien and Aliens. Like when you see some of these big gross horror moments, it's like, well, I've kind of already seen this thing before. Now there are some unique things in this movie, but it's way too few and far in between, and it really feels way too focused on recreating things we've already seen. The main problem is it doesn't end at the scares and action moments in this. We are literally having like pretty much direct quotes from previous Alien movies. It feels way too much like we're just winking at the audience all throughout this, because when it is doing its own thing and being creative, it really works for me. But again, it just doesn't happen enough in this movie. Because to be a great Alien movie, you either have to be thrilling, you have to have really scary moments, or just be a great action movie. And this movie is just kind of mediocre at all of those, in my opinion. It doesn't really know what it wants to be and tries to be like a combo of all of them. Doesn't really work. Sadly, there is one very egregious use of AI or whatever technology to recreate a actor that passed away a few years ago that was in the earlier Alien movies. I'm not going to say who it is, but you've probably heard about it. It's created huge drama. Like Rogue One did it, and I was not a fan of it in that movie, but at least it's a very small, contained, just cameo for everybody to say, oh, hey, look, there's my character I like, and then you kind of start questioning, wait, this is kind of weird since he actually died in real life. Is this even moral? And we also saw this in the Flash movie, bringing back Superman from the dead. That was also very distasteful, but even that was a very small, like 5-second scene in the movie, and that was still pretty bad. What happens in Alien Romulus might be the worst of all time, because the character that they bring back from the dead is actually a pretty big role in this film. I'm sorry, every single time he's on screen, it just completely took me out of the movie. I don't know what they used, if it was AI or some different technology to recreate him and his voice, but it was just horrid in my opinion. And it's really just something that didn't need to be in the movie. You could have just cast somebody else and just name dropped it. People would have figured it out. I'm so sick of just bringing people back to life with AI. Outside of that, there's nothing I feel really strongly negative about this movie. There's also just not that much that I feel super passionately about in this film. It's just a very mediocre and okay horror thriller movie. There's kind of no reason to watch this over the first two Alien movies, because like I said, everything that this movie is trying to do has pretty much been done better in those first two movies. Definitely recommend you checking out on your own, as I do with every movie, because this seems to be one that people either really love or really hate. I just fall in the middle. I kind of feel alone here in my opinion. I give it a 6 out of 10. Let me know if you've seen the movie, what you rate it 1 through 10 in the comments below.